Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Ion Radio. I'm Ken, and today I have a special guest. I have Derek from Star Wars Armada Explained. Derek, hello, and welcome to Ion Radio.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you taking time to sit down, chat with me. I'm excited to be here. Some people probably have been like, wait a minute, it's this guy again. I've been on a few other channels already. Like with anything, I like to talk. Two, I'm trying to get more word out. I know a lot of people have concerns about Armada or content or, other things. So yeah, I'm just trying to be more sociable, more accessible, but part of whom I am, if you don't know who I am, if you're brand new viewers, I'm Derek Schultz, aka Karneck. I am a subcontractor for Atomic Mass Games. I'm the person that when somebody posts up a, excuse me, a rule question on the rules forum, I'm your first point of contact. So if I'm typically the one who responds, if that needs to be bumped up to a developer to take a look at or anything like that, that's pretty much that's my job, my purpose. And I've been doing that for over a year now. So, and just to be clear, I'm not an employee of Atomic Mass Games. I just do some work for them. I have to make sure I'm stating that every time because of agreements and such.
Gotta get that disclaimer in there in the legalese. It's all in the fine print. It's black.
It is in the fine print. It's because people think oh, you work for them. No. Yes, but no. I speak for myself. I don't speak for them. But I got my start in doing Armada back in 2016, I think, something like that. It was right when the Archidans and the what was the rebel ship that just came out with the Archidans? Oh, the Pelta. The Pelta and the Archidans came out. And I went to Nova Open, was my first big convention. God, I was in last place the entire time there, but I had so much fun. It was a great experience. That's what really launched me into tabletop game, and I hadn't really been involved. I did some BattleTech here and there. You might see my BattleTech figures sitting on my shelf there. But that was my first big experience. It's just man, I want more of this. And as I got more into Armada and the community, just like with anything, you get a passion for it. And I got a passion for rules, and specifically making sure that I was trying to play as correctly as I could. Ultimately, that led to me creating a 400-page document of rules interactions and doing a bunch of videos on my channel, Star Wars Armada Explained, which eventually helped me get this position doing things for Atomic Mass Games. And that's kind of just a quick recap. I also do lots of running tournaments I did some for Fantasy Flight Games, and now I do some kind of ad hoc for AMG or some other conventions.
So yeah, let's talk about Adepticon. So Worlds is going to be held at Adepticon in Chicago, and Schaumburg, so suburbs of Chicago.
Shamalamaburg, yes. That's what I call it. I never can pronunciate it.
So it's the locals here call it Schaumburg. Down here, we're in the southern suburbs. We say it's somewhere far up north by the medieval times castle. But anyways, so all these Worlds tickets, so whether it's Golden State Games, whether it's Gen Con, the stuff that happened pre-pandemic with Fantasy Flight Games, Nova, all these World qualifier tickets are going to ultimately wind up finding themselves at Worlds at Adepticon. I'm assuming, Derek, you will be at Adepticon.
I am part of the Adepticon staff helping to assist Atomic Mass Games in planning for Star Wars Armada. I can't speak to Legion or X-Wing. That's not my wheelhouse. I'm, collaborating with those other organizers, under Jay for Fifth Trooper. I believe he's heading up that effort for all of us. There's a lot. I mean, we're talking hundreds of X-Wing tickets. I think it's 200 something Legion, or it was a much higher number than I initially had thought. And Armada is over 100. So it's it's going to take a lot of pre-planning. I'm very confident that we all know how to plan good events. A lot of us are experts. We've been doing tournament organizing for a long time. So it's just mainly making sure that we're trying to, every invitee who got a ticket there's a spot for you. That's guaranteed. We're not going to turn anybody away. So we're really pushing the limits of Adepticon's ability to host this event. And I know that's something Atomic Mass Games is also really invested in, and making sure that it is going to be the best experience that players are coming to attend for. I don't know about what the additional prize support or anything like that. I think we're too far out to have an idea of that. Just know that Adepticon treated Armada and all of AMG's games really well last year. They were practically throwing boxes of product at us to hand out to players. So I expect something similar. And just in general, just know that every single person that are helping Atomic Mass Games with these are just, we want to have the best experience, just like you want the best experience. So I'm excited for it. I feel like we're going to be able to accomplish it.
Well, if AMG's presence at Gen Con and Asmodee, it was actually really well run. The tournament, for at least on the Armada side, I can't speak to Legion or X-Wing, wasn't involved in those. But there was definitely a presence there. It was felt. There was clearly some prize support. The tournament was well run at Gen Con. So if Adepticon is done as well or even better, that's just be great for all the players involved. Because I know I had a lot of fun playing, and I didn't even make day 2.
Oh, good. I mean, that's the whole purpose why we go, is just to have fun. I mean, there are some people who take it seriously. That's fine if that's how they want to enjoy it. But I just like rolling dice and watching stuff blow up.
Well, that's what Armada was really all about, right? Just rolling dice, watching ships get taken off the table, and making the sound effects at different times.
Pew, pew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Derek, how long have you been actually doing TO work? I'm just curious.
So my first official TOing event was for Fantasy Flight Games for Gen Con in 2019. I was invited on after, you may have heard of Ian Cross, who was the previous Worlds judge. He did that for several years. He moved on to another position within the company, and he knew that I was up and coming. I really was hungry to learn rules, and they were like, "Hey, it seems like you're pretty confident knowing what you're doing. We want to get you in here." And so I really have my thanks to Ian Cross and also Dres Nida. Dres Nida is somebody who super big rules guru that helped me get to where I am today, both of those individuals. So, but that's how I got my first start. And from there, I mean, I've done event organizing for the past decade. I've done other events for live action role play and elsewhere. And so I wasn't a total inexperienced, but that was my first miniatures tournament. And I definitely was really nervous, but we all ended up having a good time. And since then, word gotten out that I guess I did an okay job, and other events picked me up, Frontline Gaming being one. I've done a couple of their events for them. I'm actually getting Canadian out to Montreal, Canada. I'm super excited for that, the St. Lawrence Open in October, and just kind of just traveling around here and there. I actually like really enjoy stuff like this. So I feel very, I want to say like humbled. I'm very humbled, but I'm a little bit egotistical, but no, like I'm just really glad for the experience. I love this kind of stuff.
So that actually leads me into kind of a segue question here. What came first? You kind of TOing at Gen Con in 2019, or did the rules diving and that mental fortitude to be able to go through rules and understand it and kind of explaining it for others come, and then that's what got you into the Armada TO?
Oh, absolutely. Star Wars Armada Explained and doing the Karneck's Armada reference manual. That's definitely what showed initially to FFG and then AMG. Like, this is somebody who takes a lot of pride in understanding the game system and making sure that they're learning every single little detail. For me, it's just, I am not somebody who goes into something halfway. If I say I'm going to do something, I just dive right into it. Because I was complaining when I first started. I went to a tournament and somebody said, "Oh no, that's not the rule. This is the rule." And then a week later, I went to a different tournament. They're like, no, that person's wrong. That's not the rule. This is the rule. I then went to a third tournament 2 weeks later. Like, no, both those people are totally wrong. This is actually. I was just like, I was so frustrated. I just wanted to just leave because it didn't seem like anyone knew how to play the game. And when I was like, well, why doesn't FFG make videos explaining how, these cards work and blah, blah, blah. And people like, well, if you're complaining about it so much, why don't you do it? I'm like, I will, I'll show you. And that's what started my love of diving into Armada and learning all that. And again, just having like really deep conversations with Dreas and Ian Cross, and both of them initially just bonking me on the head, like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. This is how it works. And then eventually it came to be where it's like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And both of them like, dude, we don't even know anymore. It seems like you understand it better than we do. So I definitely have like a group of people. Like if I find something or discover something, like I always like going and talking with them first. I have a preference for who I discuss certain things with. Outside of, there's two different parts, right? I've got like the Atomic Mass Games, like official part where like I have official internal discussions, but then, you always just kind of want to just shoot the crap with your friends. And you're like, does this crazy idea work or something? And everyone's like, no, you're just dumb. You're thinking outside the box again, and it's not working for you. But it's just, yeah, that's how I got my start, was just doing those videos, and just having that experience is what led me into those TO opportunities. Yes, to answer the question.
So that kind of goes back. At one point, you had mentioned that you started playing Armada in around 2016 or so, when Arctons and the Pelta came out, which I want to say Wave 6. So right around the same time Corellian Conflict came out, if memory.
Yes, absolutely the same time.
So how did you wind up initially getting into Star Wars Armada? Because it's always fun to hear the stories of the first time you picked up that Star Destroyer or whatever it might be. Maybe it was the CR-90 or the Neb B. How did you kind of just get into that game? What was the genesis thereof?
Sure. Yeah. So I was just wanting to get more into in-person interaction. I love computer games. I play tons of them. I was just like, man, I was like, I just want to actually like see and talk to people and like get involved in local community. And of course I heard of X-Wing. Everyone had heard of X-Wing. I'm like, oh, maybe I will like that. But then I learned I hate defense dice. I can't stand defense dice. I played a game of X-Wing and I'm like, oh man, I rolled 3 hits. This is great. And the other player's like, oh no, I rolled 3 evades. You don't deal any damage. I'm like, what? That's like, there was no skill involved in that, I feel like. So that's why those kind of games are not my preference. I enjoy them. I'll play them on occasion. I really preferred wanting like bigger action though, because our X-Wing, great for like the simple fast-paced dogfighting, but I wanted to be more like Thrawn in the battle fleets and do things of that nature. So when I did my research, the Armada is what started to eventually draw me more and more. And I also had to keep in mind, in fact, of my location. So where I live, my local area is actually a 3-hour drive in one direction to go play in a tournament or play with people, and then a 3-hour drive back home because nobody plays it around where I am. So if I knew if I was going to get into something, like I was invested in that one item, and that's how I got into Armada, just because, yeah, the models looked fantastic. The game mechanics really drew me in, and not looked back ever since. I've been in love with it. Legion has gotten that the alluring siren call every now and again. I'm like, oh, Legion. I'm like, oh, but then I have to paint, and like, oh, but Legion.
I think one of the fascinating points that you made here, specifically looking at how Armada deals with defensive capabilities and those defense tokens and the strategy involved in when do you use them? Which ones do you use? Do you have an effect that can change how that gets used? And then you can actually start doing the calculus of how much damage you could theoretically do on a ship. What, no matter what is done, will destroy it. And I think that's what a lot of the Armada players really enjoy about the game. And, I played X-Wing too, and I did that competitively for a little while, and you'd have the best shot in the world. And there's your evade dice, because it'll be the one time someone gets that ultimate green die evil evades. And
right, you spent like 3 rounds setting up the perfect shot, and you like, oh, I'm gonna get this guy, and like, oh, I rolled up, you don't deal up, that sucks. It just it just doesn't feel good. I didn't like it.
No, although when you do the exact same thing against a ship in Armada and they say, well, we're going to brace that, use EST on this, and PDIC your couple black dice, and now you've got 1 damage, and I shield. that's also kind of
It can, yeah, it can
yeah.
kind of momentum into that. But how I like to view that is if that's the only shot you're ever taking, yeah, that feels bad. But like with anything, usually you have a battle plan and you know
Mhm.
you're trying to bring to bear your fleet on a target. And definitely you can get diced in Armada, where one player is just can't seem to land anything and the other person's landing all these shots. But to me, that's pretty far and in between because there's so many mechanics still in Armada that allows you to re-roll dice and try to get the results you're looking for. And same thing with your opponent. It just like you said, I really like the defense tokens because like you said, you're trying to strategize like, okay, this ship's going to go first and hopefully make them spend their brace, and then this one's I'm going to add in X-Rax and then they have to spend it or get the accuracy. So there's just like I just like that in-depth detail for planning.
It's amazing how much goes into 6 turns. And
Yeah.
when you really think about it, it's really only 5 because in the 6th turn, the game's pretty much over. You're moving away. But so much in that turn, usually 2, 3, and 4,
Mm-hmm.
happens. And I think this is where tournaments get interesting because now you're playing the same fleet. You know it well, or you should. And then you have to go through the exhaustion and fatigue of running all this calculus in your head, running all the different scenarios and possibilities, and you've got to do it not just once, 2 times, or smaller tournaments you're going to do it 3, but you get into something like a Gen Con. If you have enough players, it's 4. And sometimes you can even do 5 rounds, which is, I think,
I've
insane.
done 5 rounds once. Never again. I don't ever plan for 5 rounds in one day. It's just too much, even for the
Isn't it?
organizers. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Well, I mean, I'm doing the one in St. Lawrence is going to be 5 in one day. And it's like I'm mentally prepping myself for that.
sleep the day before, stay up your 24 hours, and then
Yeah.
sleep, into the next day. I
Four
think it's
rounds is the sweet spot. Yeah.
we're talking about TO. We talk about defensive fleet strategies in your. So now here's a fun softball question. What's one of your favorite fleets that you've
So
designed or that you play?
So I'm gonna look at my other monitor I have over here.
Go ahead.
So I've always been an Imperial player. Been an Imperial player the whole time. I've tried Rebels. They just don't do it for me. They're great. It's a great faction. And then when the Clone Wars came out, like I am not a Republic player. Republic player, people ask me, which of the 4 factions is the hardest to play? Absolutely, it's Republic. You really have to understand all the timings in the game to get the most beneficial use of Republic. And I don't consider it a newbie friendly faction. I don't tell new players to start with Republic. I'll tell them to start with Rebels. Rebels is really easy to ease into compared to any other faction. But so my second favorite faction though is Separatists because I just love just throw more droids at the problem. Whatever the problem is, more droids. Like that's all we need. But Imperials, I actually with the new Ozzel change, we got changed. I was like, man, I really feel like Ozzel no longer being tied to navigation, like to me screams squadron commander. And everyone's like, what? No, MSU. I'm like, that's the obvious answer is MSU. But like to me, Ozzel is a squadron commander. So I sent you a link with a fleet that says Ozzel is a squadron commander. And actually, I've had Sam Simpson netlist this list from me because he liked it so much. And of course, he puts his own little tweak on it, but it's an ISD2. It got the same things you're talking about. It's expert shield techs, PDIC, ECMs, but I go more of the carrier route with it. I actually throw Relentless on it. Relentless and Ozzel is just chef's kiss. It's a match made in heaven.
So there's one I haven't tried. I'm going to be curious to hear more on this list because usually you don't see Relentless on an ISD2.
So it's only 3 points and it turns your command 3 ship into a command 2 ship. So now you're running around like an MC30 because your navigations your speed changes are taken care of with Ozzel. You can speed jank all day long, which is what I really like about this list. Is because part of Armada is, as we mentioned before, strategizing how you're going to do your engagement. And at some point, like for a Salone fleet, it's like, okay, yeah, they've got the nav token banked. But as soon as they spend it, like they're not changing speed, they're not navigating typically in rounds 3 or 4. They're going to be doing squadron commands. So what I really like about Ozzel is like, yeah, I'll start at like speed 1. and then I'll jump up to speed 3 if I want, or I'll drop to speed 0, or I'll bank my navigation. Like there's so many navigation options you can do that then again, yeah, when you're getting into needing to do your dedicated squadron commands, you can still change speed depending on situation. Like, oh, or did they really speed up? I don't have to worry about spending my nav token. I can just drop speed. Do I need to get out of a really sticky situation so I don't lose my ISD? Boom, speed 1, speed 3, just by spending a navigation token, and you're able to just get flying right out of there away from like a squad, like B-Wing squad ball. Because before, a B-Wing squad ball getting pushed by a bunch of peltas in your face. But then if you're at speed 1, like you're toast, you're just going to land and overlap them and like you never escape. But then boom, speed 3, you've totally gotten away from that B-Wing squad ball. And with boosted comms and relay, you're still able to keep doing squadron stuff. So that is my Ozzel as a squadron commander pitch. And I don't try to do the super lame thing. Yes, it's a Raider one. That's where Ozzel is sitting. Yes, it's Corvus and Hondo. I don't play the whole, like, it sits in a corner, it doesn't do anything. I get aggressive with it. It's a follow-on ship. So I do try to angle my flagship to be a mop-up. It's not just sitting off in a corner somewhere. And then, yeah, the normal Gazantes. I actually run reserve hangar decks on them because I am taking TIE interceptors. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, you're blowing up my TIE interceptors. I'm bringing them back. I'm still throwing them at you. Saber, Howl Runner. So it's just in your face alpha. And then I actually bring, Colonel Jendon, Merrick Steele, and Darth Vader. And the Darth Vader, Merrick Steele wombo combo as a bomber force is just, they'll wipe they'll wipe a small off the face of the earth in 2 turns. So
they really will, and they're also decent for Gazanti killers too,
yeah,
or transport killers, depending on how you want to use them. Vader, in terms of trying to kill off squadrons, he's great at mopping them up.
Mm-hmm.
But that initial assault, it's terrifying with Vader, just because he goes too quick. Personal opinion. Just only flew him a couple times.
Yes, I definitely use him. So because he's rogue, I don't have to command him in that initial push of my interceptors tying up other squadrons. So I typically try to say Vader for either to go off and bomb things with his best bud Steel, or yeah, if I see a situation like, you know what, I need to throw Vader in there because I can wipe like Jan off the face of the earth, or Dutch, or Tien Nub, or whomever, that like this guy needs to die and he needs to die right now. Like I'll throw Vader in there because for me, typically then all that shooting of them trying to take out Vader just means that I can potentially take out the rest of their squadron ball. Again, it's essentially 4 interceptors and Hell Runner with all that dice. Like you just can't ignore them. Like you have to shoot the generics at some point. Otherwise, they're just going to wipe you out with all the blue dice that they have. So, and I like the fact that the fleet is 4 activations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not restricted. Like most Salone fleets are only 3 activations. And I feel like that you really got to have a bit of a higher activation count in this game to be able to get the positioning that you like.
Well, normally, Sloan, you'll have your ISD, a Quasar, and a Gazanti, and then 134 points worth of fighters. So this is kind of neat to see a little bit different. I never really thought of Ozzel being a squadron type commander. So that'd be interesting to bring out, play locally here. Chicago is very well known for being an Ozzel and Imperial meta. Mm-hmm. So this will be interesting to see, like I said, local here to us here on iRadio. So maybe we'll see that come out a little bit. And,
the ISD people have said like, oh, I don't like the fact that there's no rerolls for the red dice. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like for me, my personal strategy is the blue dice are the best. The red dice, if you get damage with it, great. If you don't, like you've got Vader Steel. Like that's why you've got them. It's you can't worry about what your red dice are going to roll is the way that I approach that.
So I'm going to ask kind of a weird question off of this because this kind of popped in my head as you were describing how your fleet works. And at one point you mentioned you're a computer gamer and then you wanted to get some social interactions. How much of the thought process of, say, like from the Wing Commander series, where you want to take all the little squadrons protecting the capital ship out before you attack the capital ship, goes into your thinking when you first build these fleets?
I try to see, there's so much into that, but I first decide if I'm going like, am I going just all capital ships, or am I going all squadrons, or am I going MSU, or am I going something with a light squadron screen? So that's how I approach fleet building, is like, what kind of archetype am I trying to fit here or go for? And then I'll start fiddling around with what ships I want and play with it. I mean, I'll spend hours just list building just until I get something I feel like is going to be interesting to play. I typically will always play with squadrons, though. I'm very much enjoy having squadrons in the game and in squadron play. It doesn't always have to be 134, but you usually will find me like medium to heavy when I build a list. But yeah, for theme, I don't know. I don't really go for theme. I just kind of just don't like doing whatever is the net list, the meta list. I mean, I can tell you hundreds of Salone lists that are out there, but I don't play Salone just because I bring squadrons. I want to, like, what else can work with squadrons? And that's kind of where I got into the whole, like, let's just try Ozzel. Let's try Madi. Madi was fun, but just like not really doing it for me. And just kind of like, I like just doing commanders that don't see as much of the limelight, or just taking them and doing something different with them. That's what I like to do.
Is there a commander or a upgrade card that you would love to try and figure a solution out for, but you just can't?
Oh, Grand Moff Tarkin. I spent like 5 months on a Moff Tarkin list for Empire, and I just could not. It was fun. It just never beat anything. And it's just like, oh, it's like, I mean, the point adjustment definitely helped, but I still couldn't find anything that Empire couldn't do better with a Gazanti and resupply Confire tokens or engineers. Like, I couldn't find anything that really helped with that, So it's just like, I would love to see, I don't know, something else of Tarkin, because I love Tarkin. I think he's a great concept, but there's just so much token generation in the game that he just really gets kind of edged out by all these other cheaper options, essentially.
Well, here's our little hot take then for Atomic Mass Games. If you're listening, Derek and I would love a little bit of a change to Grand Moff Tarkin, or some neat upgrades to use. So throw that in your back pocket, and just in case you're listening. We got to make that shout out from time to time, right?
Right.
You're known as the rules guy, right? Between, like you said, the Carm, and now you've got a new kind of a compilation of all the things that are happening on the AMG rules forum. So I'd like to actually talk a little bit about that for a second. And I think it'd be good, again, for all of our new players here on Ion Radio to kind of understand, let's say you do have a rules question. What would be the best way to kind of go about getting that answered?
I always tell people, get involved with your community first, because they're going to be right there, and hopefully they understand what they're explaining to you. But if they are like, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this, next step is get on the Facebooks, the Discords, the communities. Armada community is so wonderful at wanting to help others understand. It's actually pretty rare to come across somebody who will give you the wrong answer and they think that's the correct. I mean, it's pretty much stamped out. It still will happen, but it's pretty rare. If all else fails, if you're like, you know what, I'm hearing this from this guy, this from this girl, this from this person, I don't know what to think, jump on the Atomic Mass Rules forum. Even if it's a simple question like, how does concentrate fire work? I don't understand. I will explain it to you. Now, I won't post it up actually into the forum itself, because that's not the kind of questions that forum is designed for. We're not here to teach you the game. But if you just say, I need some help understanding, I'm going to take time out of my day to help you understand, end of the day. But if you do actually have like a question like, I read for abandoned mining facility that I can't place an obstacle in my deployment area or my deployment opponent's deployment area. Like, is that true? And I'll be like, yeah, per the rules of the game, it's not explicitly stating that you can do that. So you still have to follow the other rules, and no, you can't put obstacles in your opponent's deployment area. And you'll see like answers like that will come up that are clarifications to help people know how to play the game. So there isn't like any arguing back and forth in that instance.
That's a great example. And then you've taken a lot of these little clarifications And I think you've included the errata too into your new CARM. I forget the specific acronym.
Can't call it that
Right.
anymore.
No, you can't.
But
What's the new acronym for the new?
AMGRAM, the Atomic Mass Games Armada Reference Manual. So yes, I have taken the manual. I word for word put it in there, and then I went through and any new rulings, because the search function on the Atomic Mass Games forum is not the best. I don't like it either. But I have it in this document now. All the new rule changes are hyperlinked in blue. You can click on it, boom, it takes you right to where it says that this is now different. I have very, very few notes that you'll see like in purple. That's just like clear, like slight clarifications or annotations of just like, yo, just so you know, like this is actually like how you can play this, that, you know, everyone understands who's a veteran, but for a new player, just like little hints and guidelines there. But yeah, every time a new ruling comes out, I go grab it and I throw it into this document.
And now we've got one place to go look, in addition to, you know, the 5 billion community.
It makes it easier for me too, because like I was like, I don't know where to find that stupid rule. So I needed a document for myself to keep track of things. So
when are you going to codify it so that you have section A 1.01.53, and then we can start pointing to every exception and everything else? You can do that for us?
Maybe one day I'll put like numberings and stuff in there. It's just like, if anything, time. And right now it works. At least you can type in like the card that you're looking for, and at least it will take you right to what you're trying to find in most cases. But I would like to section it out. But I'm also trying to keep it as pure as what the rule book has, just because that way I'm not like trying to misrepresent myself as speaking for Atomic Mass Games either. I'm just like, this is just their rule book. Yes, I've got this all written out here, but I'm not changing the layout or how they have anything written. So
Well, the grognard in me kind of wants to see that, you know, going back to all the games from the 80s and whatnot. But actually, I will say it's a lot easier to read the Star Wars Armada book than like Starfleet Battles. So,
yeah.
Battletech's another really nice, fun, complicated one. You mentioned Battletech, that you played that at one point, where you've got to go through about 6 different
you got
books to find that one thing
right there.
Yeah. Yes, there they are. Mine are not over here. I think they're over there. So so next video, guys, I will adjust the camera and we'll get the Battletech stuff back here. So the Armada shelf's over here, just for those that are wondering that question too. No, I'm not going to move the camera. So with all this going on, the game of Armada and Karneck in specific, what would you say has been the neatest joy or the fun that you get out of this? Because you've been doing this for a while now, and you're a recognized name in the Star Wars Armada community for sure. What's the profound impact it's had on you, and what do you take to heart from that?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I just love the community. I love just trying to be helpful. For me, I just people ask me like, "Oh, don't you get tired of just only judging or running tournaments? Like, don't you want to play?" I'm like, "Of course I want to play." Like, of course I do. But I'm one of those rare people, I feel like, because watching Armada typically, like it's boring. It is boring. Watching Armada is boring for most people walking by. But for me, I love just being able to go from table to table and like make my internal predictions. I don't ever can say them out loud. But if I do see something like, I'll tell people, it's like, yo, like show me your fleet list real quick. Like your fleet looks interesting or cool. And like, I'll talk to them about it. Cause just like, yo, man, like, I hope you go far with this because like, I want to see like what you can do. And like that kind of stuff. Like I'm always intrigued by just seeing different things or how people play something different. And also the flip side of that is you'll see people show up who just have net listed the thing that won Gen Con or LVO, and they'll show up thinking that it's just going to be an automatic winner for them. It's like, no, you don't understand. The people who brought these lists, like the reason why they won is they practiced with them. Like you just can't take something and plop on a table and think you're gonna carry the day with it. I mean, that was kind of true with the Thrawn 2 ship thing way back when. But even then, like, you know, people counter that pretty quickly because, yeah, it was just a lot of people who didn't know how to play very well. And, you know, you just can't take where was I at? I was at Adepticon, and there was a player who did show up with like the double onager because like he heard that was really good, but he'd never had played it before. I'm like, I feel like you're gonna struggle, man, but good luck to you. Hope you have a good time. He was in bottom bracket like the entire time of that tournament just because he hadn't played with the list enough. So it's just always interesting. And again, familiar faces. I mean, I go to some of these and it's just like, I swear Mac follows me everywhere I go from Canada, and some other people. It's just good to recognize people. And again, just meet people who are brand new to the game and just like, I've seen all your videos. Thank you so much. And just like, to me, it just really humbles me to know that I was able to help them understand and get to know more. And that's just kind of what brings me joy, is just meeting the community and getting out there. That's where I get a lot of pleasure from that.
Well, I know for me personally, I really appreciate a lot of the work that you have done in clarifying rules, and definitely in trying to organize it in a way, because there are a lot of times we're trying to find that one thing. Is that in the main book? Is it in every once in a while?
No, it's some obscure online answer on the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, it's, oh, wait, that's actually in the tournament booklet.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget how that one came up. I think someone was asking where tabling was, and I must have spent the better part of minutes going through the rule books. Like, I know it's in here, and then you finally open up the tournament rule book, and there it is under end of round. It's like the third option, and you go, yeah, actually, this is not something we need to be playing with unless you're in a tournament, but we're going to do it anyways. So. And there's kind of another funny thing that I think comes out with Armada. There seems to me two kind of different play styles. You have your kitchen table play styles, where I want to say probably the vast majority of Armada players are kitchen table players. They're playing for fun and everything else. And there's a smaller segment that are really competitive into all of these rules, and they're the ones that are at the stores whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Sunday, as it is locally here, playing similar lists and everything else. And those are two really different styles of play, one being kind of more competitive and everything else. So now, I know, where do you think you fall in that first? And then I'll ask a follow-up to it.
I definitely would consider myself more of a competitive player. I love competitive side of play. I definitely, when I was going to the tournaments, other than the very first ones when I was brand new, I tend to play pretty well, in personal opinion. But I recognize that just the beer and pretzels table kitchen play is another huge aspect of players in the community. And that's actually something, when I can't speak too much about it, but the organized play kit for Armada that's been talked about, that's something I did have a hand in. And it is definitely more focused on a different style of Armada play other than the standard experience. That's about as much as I can say, other than just I'm really excited for it. And I do hope it's something people will enjoy. It's going to be, for me, it's fun. I feel like I have fun with that. And I hope other people do as well.
So since you brought that up, I'm going to ask you kind of a small question on that. And that's going to be, is this going to be more akin to, say, what was that scenario? Take the
station. Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be a play style more like that, which I know for me was great to introduce a couple new players because it's a smaller format. And I know you can't talk about, what it's about and everything else. I know there was some rumblings that it may have come out at Gen Con, which it didn't. That's fine. Clearly AMG has a time scale, and if I was going to put my money on, it's probably a Lucasfilm thing. And I know you can't tell me that either, but
I may not even know.
Might not know. The key is, we know that at some point, presumably this will get released, and we'd love to see your spin on what this is going to be.
Yeah, if I had to relate it, the closest relation is a take the station kind of a scenario. It is meant to be, fast and fun and not be as serious as a standard game. And in terms of timelines, release and all that, I honestly have no clue. It's on their schedule. They keep saying that it is going to come out. And that's as much as I have to work with as you do. It's just like with anything, pandemic and supply issues and everything else. I just know that we're still dealing with a lot of that. and I'm not trying to make excuses for Atomic Mass Games. Like they're big boys. They can put out their own information. But let me phrase it this way. Back under Fantasy Flight Games, how huge was that studio? Like, think of how many people worked there, not just only for Armada, but think of all the logistical support. Now compare that to Atomic Mass Games. They are a much smaller studio. Like when they got the initial titles, I think they were only like 20 something people. I think nowadays, I don't even think they're over 50 now either. And again, FFG had hundreds of people. So again, you might just say, well, just hire more people. Why don't they just hire more people? Well, again, their budget for that is not the same as Fantasy Flight Games. It's still dictated in part by Asmodee. So if Asmodee says, yeah, we're not going to give you that budget to hire all the people you need, then they have to work with what they have. So I can understand the frustration people have of like, why don't we have anything after so long? All I can say is please continue to have patience. I mean, I understand it too. I would love to see tons of different stuff, and there's lots of ideas on how to accomplish that. But at the end of the day, it, as much as it pains me to say something like this, it is their game. They can handle it at a pace that whatever they deem, and they don't have to explain to us why they're moving at that pace. They really don't. It would be nice if they did, but at the end of the day, I support them. Again, there's things that I can see on the back end where they are trying their hardest. I work with a lot of these people here, there, and here that they want to make great games just as much as you want to get great product and play great games. And that's just the pace that they have to move at right now. So thanks for coming to my Karneck talk.
We'll get that TED logo. Just put Karneck or Sway right there for you.
Again, I'm not speaking for Atomic Mass Games. These are just my own personal thoughts and opinions. And I will always continue to say I'm doing the best that I can from my end to ensure that Armada is going to continue to be a great and fun, fantastic game. That's the best that I can do to try to help Atomic Mass Games. So.
Well, we definitely appreciate that. Thank you so much. Because, this is a great game. And, I know we're not quite at that point to where we get the annual Armada is Dead, coming back up again. It's not. It's a great game. It's being played a lot. We're seeing tons of support for it, whether it's Gen Con, Nova, Golden State Games, etc. There's a lot of people that are playing it, and there's a lot of people talking about it. We've got, so to speak.
One comment that will irk me or kind of like be like, man, just like when people say like, we haven't gotten anything in 3 years. I'm like, that's not true. Look at all these answers to rule questions you've gotten. That's not nothing. Rapid reinforcements. Yeah, we have the OP kit. Yes, it's not coming out in the timeline that you want, but it's like, we've gotten stuff. And I mean, think of back to Wave 2, Wave 3, where it pretty much was like a year and a half of nothing. And, I always try to put things in perspective. And again, I understand the frustrations. I want more Armada stuff too, but that is a comment that like I never will agree with, that AMG could be doing more. They haven't done enough. It's like they have done things. So
I am sure we are going to see a lot of great things coming out of AMG for Star Wars Armada and the entire series of Star Wars games. But we also have to remember they also have Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I'm sure they've got a couple other things running behind the scenes that we may or may not know about. And
I keep hearing like whispers that there's something that they're working on. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. I just keep hearing like my little birds have told me.
The spy network is slowly working its way through there, and eventually one day we'll find out, and that'll be the day that they actually post an article on their webpage saying, here's the new game. But now let's put Armada aside for 1 second. Outside of the Armada world, what are the other kind of games you play, whether they're digital or, tabletop, or are there other free time activities you enjoy doing?
Oh man, that's such a huge wide variety.
Loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, I was huge into World of Warcraft back in the day, right? Like everyone was. I say everyone, but almost everybody. I play a variety of different computer games, from real-time strategy, first-person shooter. I don't terribly have too much time for that kind of stuff anymore. What do I do otherwise, though? Like Physically, I used to be super involved for like 10-15 years. I still do it a little bit, live action role play. I would go out and swing, not so much the magic system. If any of you have heard of Amped Guard, I didn't really do Amped Guard. I did a sport kind of like more not SCA, which is like they are like that full mail and all that full plate. I did Belagarth, which is pad the weapon, not the fighter. But it is a full contact game, like similar to like rugby, where you can just shield. I love shield bashing people. I love, the getting hit in the face. Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but we are using padded weapons. By the end of the day, you're getting bruises. Like it's a full contact game. You're knocking people over. You're having a good time. Was huge into airsoft too. I did something called Mildsum West, which is a 36-hour continuous game out in Washington, where once they say go, it's 36 hours of you got to have your safety goggles on. It doesn't stop. That was my first experience having military grade. I rented second generation night vision goggles that were formerly used by the U.S. military. I never had, like, you see like the movies and everything. I can't even tell you guys, like, if that was second generation, I could see like 100 yards away, like people standing, talking, holding, like it was mind blowing to me, that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed that airsoft, the live action role play. Nowadays, I'm getting a little bit older. I love going out and just paddle boarding, swimming in the lakes. I live in Oregon, where there's just tons of that, hiking. So those are kind of some of the other activities that I enjoy.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate it. I think that's kind of fun to get the well-roundedness of anyone that's, especially anyone in an internet personality, just to get that little bit of humanity thrown into them beyond, well, in your case, Star Wars Armada Explains, or, any of the work you do with AMG. Derek, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on Ion Radio, and I apologize John couldn't be here, but he's out working, so times being what they are.
It's okay. It's a John. We can always just get another John.
We can always get another John. But, thank you so much for being a part of our show, and definitely for being part of Armada in general.
Well, thank you, Ken. Again, I want to recognize Ion Radio and Ken, John, Garrett. Oh, it's Ryan. Oh my gosh.
Ryan's on command stack.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I got that confused, right. But I just want to recognize the effort that you're all putting into your show and getting more content out there. And it's just, for me, I'm just really thankful, because this kind of what you have is helping to keep showing people Armada is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. When you see lack of content creators, that's when you know it's over, because then there's no more word getting out about something. And just, again, thank you for putting this time and dedication in.
Well, it's something we enjoy doing, something we're going to intentionally do for quite a while. And we're going to make a rule mistake here and there. So I'm sure you will hear about it when they say the Ion Radio guys didn't do that. They did it this way. And we're going to go, yeah, we know. And that's when, you send us a nasty email and like, come on, guys, you'd know better than that. But
I'm always available on Discord.
Do that.
Yep, anytime.
Well, now that we have you on speed dial, we'll reach out, and we're like, we think it works this way. We're still going to get stuff wrong, folks. That's just how this works.
That's how it works.
So, Derek, thank you so much again for being on the show. Check us out on all the socials. Check out Star Wars Armada Explained and see more of Karneck's content. So until next time, I'm Ken. This has been my guest, Derek, and you've been watching Ion Radio. Check out Star Wars Armada Explains. And until next time, I'm Derek, and this has been my guest. No, I'm not. Oh, wow.
That's okay, Derek. I'm sure. Have a good evening. Thanks for having me on. I'm Ken. I'll catch you later.